My name is Serena. I'm 34 years old. And last month, at my brother's wedding, in front of 180 guests, an open bar, and a string quartet playing Can't Help Falling in Love, my mother grabbed the microphone during the toasts and told the entire room that the only thing I'd ever been good at was disappointing people. She laughed when she said it, so did half the room. I didn't cry, I didn't leave. I just sat there at table 11, the one farthest from the head table, the one with the aunt nobody talks to and two coworkers who barely knew my brother's name, and I made a very quiet, very permanent decision. But before I tell you what happened next, I need to take you back, because this story doesn't start at a wedding. It starts in a hospital room in Knoxville, Tennessee, 23 years ago, when I was 11 years old and my father looked me in the eyes and told me I was the one he was counting on. The Calloway family. That's what we were. Calloway Custom Woodworks, a cabinet and mill workshop my grandfather built from a single truck and a table saw in 1971. My father Gene ran it by the time I was born. We weren't rich, but we were solid. Knoxville solid. 4-bedroom ranch house off Kingston Pike, church on Sundays, a chest freezer full of venison in the garage. My mother Diane was the kind of beautiful that made people assume she was kind. She wasn't unkind, exactly. She was just selective. There was a warmth she gave my brother Cody that she never quite extended to me, not in any dramatic way. No locked doors, no name-calling, at least not then. Just a heat you could feel was directed somewhere slightly to the left of where you were standing. Cody was 4 years younger. And from the moment he could throw a football, the entire family solar system reorganized around him. I kept my grades up and hoped someone would notice. They didn't. When I was 15, my father had his first heart attack. He survived, but the shop started slipping. By the time I was 17 and applying to colleges, the financial picture was what my father called complicated. I had a partial academic scholarship to the University of Tennessee. I needed about $14,000 a year to cover the rest. My father sat me down at the kitchen table one October evening, hands folded the way he did when something was serious. "Serena Bird," he said. He always called me that. "I need you to hear something and know it comes from love." He told me they couldn't swing the gap. Not that year. Maybe in a year or two things would turn around. Maybe community college, then transfer. I looked at my mother. She was studying her coffee mug. What I didn't know then, what I wouldn't find out for another 15 years, was that 3 weeks earlier my parents had co-signed a $47,000 loan for Cody's travel baseball program. Private coaches. Tournament fees, a custom batting cage installed in the backyard. I enrolled at Pellissippi State. I told myself it was temporary. It wasn't. The day after I turned 19, I moved to Nashville with $1,400, a plastic bin of clothes, and a job offer at a property management company. Answering phones. Scheduling maintenance calls. $13.50 an hour. My apartment was a converted garage in East Nashville that smelled faintly of motor oil and had one window that faced a brick wall. I called home twice a week at first, then once, then not at all. Because every call ended the same way. My mother asking when I was going to get serious about my future. My father mentioning how well Cody's team had done at regionals. So I stopped calling and started building. I took every free course I could find. Property management licensing, bookkeeping. Real estate law basics through a YouTube channel run by a lawyer in Phoenix who posted videos at midnight. I got my property manager's license at 21. By 23, I was managing a portfolio of 40 residential units for a small firm called Meridian South Properties. The owner, a woman named Gloria Tran, was the first person since my father's hospital bed version of himself who told me I had something. "You're not just organized," she said once, handing me a lease dispute I'd resolved without her help. "You think like an owner, you should be one," so I became one. At 26, I used $22,000 in savings, every dollar I had, to form Lakeview Property Group LLC. Single member. Just me and a laptop and a rented desk at a co-working space off Charlotte Avenue. I kept my name completely off the public-facing materials. No LinkedIn, no press releases. All contracts ran through the company name and my attorney, a quiet, precise woman named Carol Birch. Why the secrecy? Because I knew how my family worked. If they found out I was building something, they would find a way to insert themselves, take credit, or tear it down. I had watched them do it to my father's self-esteem for 20 years. I wasn't giving them the chance. By the time I was 30, Lakeview managed 340 residential units and 6 commercial properties across Middle Tennessee. Annual revenue had crossed $2.1 million. I had 8 employees, an office with real furniture, and a lease on a condo in the Gulch with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Cumberland River. I wore what I earned. I asked nobody for anything. Now here's the part that still makes me shake my head. 2 years ago, Cody, who had not made it past single-A baseball, who had bounced through 3 sales jobs and recently gotten engaged to a woman named Brittany from Murfreesboro, came to me for help. He just didn't know it. His fiancé's parents were investors. They needed a Nashville property manager they could trust. Lakeview's listing showed only a general inquiry email and Carol's name as the managing agent. I took the account, a 4-unit building in Germantown. Leasing, maintenance, rent collection, everything. The Whitfields have never been happier with a property manager. They've since referred us 3 additional clients. Cody told my mother at Easter that some company called Lakeview was doing an incredible job with the Whitfield rental. My mother reportedly said, "See, that's the kind of work ethic Cody has always had. Finding the right people. I found that out from my Aunt Patricia. She texts me updates she thinks I should have, because she is, in her words, keeping score on my behalf." Patricia was the one who called me the morning before the wedding and said, "Serena, I need to warn you. Your mother has been telling people you're struggling. That you've had some kind of breakdown since you and Marcus split up. Marcus was a man I dated briefly 4 years ago." My mother had apparently been using that relationship's end as a narrative anchor for my instability ever since. I thanked Patricia. I told her I'd be fine. I went to that wedding because Cody asked me to come, and because some part of me still believed, against all accumulated evidence, that families could surprise you. I was right. Just not in the way I'd hoped. The Knoll Hotel Ballroom, downtown Nashville, September, white roses and eucalyptus on every table, the kind of wedding that cost more than my first year's rent. I wore a deep emerald dress I'd bought myself. Simple cut, good fabric, my grandmother's pearl bracelet on my wrist. I looked like what I was, a woman who had built something real and knew it. My mother intercepted me near the bar during cocktail hour. She looked me up and down the way a contractor surveys a house they're about to demolish. "You look tired, sweetheart," she said. "Are you sleeping?" I told her I was great. Cody hugged me. Genuinely, I think. He's not malicious, my brother. He's just been trained, the way you train a plant to grow toward one source of light. Dinner was fine. The speeches started. Then my mother stood up. She had the microphone before anyone offered it. That tells you everything. She talked about Cody. His resilience, his charm, the way he'd overcome adversity. The adversity being, as far as I could tell, not making the majors and having to pivot to a career in insurance sales. She painted it as heroic, then she looked at me. "My daughter Serena is here tonight," she said, and the room turned. "Serena has always done things her own way," she smiled. "No degree, no real plan. Just kind of figuring it out as she goes, 34 and still finding herself." She laughed lightly. "We love her anyway." A few people laughed, the nervous kind. The kind that means they know it was wrong but don't want to be the only one sitting still. I was very still. I counted to 5. Then I stood up, walked to the nearest microphone stand, the one the DJ had left near the dance floor, and I picked it up. The room went quiet immediately. "I'd like to say something," I said. And my voice didn't shake. I want you to know that. It did not shake. "Congratulations, Cody, I love you, and I mean that." I looked at him. He looked terrified. "And to everyone here tonight, I want to be honest. Because my mother just told you I'm still finding myself. So let me share where I found myself. I turned to her. Mom, the property management company that's been handling the Whitfield Germantown investment, the one Cody has been bragging about for 8 months, that's my company. I built it. I own it. It manages 340 units and just crossed $2 million in annual revenue. The room did not make a sound. I didn't go to the University of Tennessee because you told me there was no money. There was money. You spent it on batting cages. I kept my voice level. I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it because I'm tired of being your cautionary tale when I am anything but. I set the microphone down on the table, picked up my clutch, and walked toward the exit. My heels on that marble floor were the only sound in the room. I pulled over on 2nd Avenue and sat in my car for a long time. Not crying, just breathing. The way you breathe after something has finally been said. 2 days later, my phone rang. Aunt Patricia again. She's telling people you had a breakdown, Patricia said, that the stress of your little business was too much and you made a scene. I wasn't surprised. But then Patricia said something else, something that made me go cold. Serena, there's something I've needed to tell you for 10 years. Your grandmother, your daddy's mama, she left you something. Before she passed, your mother intercepted the letter from the estate attorney. My grandmother Ruth Calloway had died when I was 22. I'd been told she left everything to be split evenly between her children. I had no reason to question it. Patricia told me Ruth had left me $35,000, specifically designated for education or professional development. My mother had signed for the letter, told the attorney I'd declined the funds, and redirected the disbursement to a joint family account she controlled. I called Carol Birch that afternoon. 3 weeks later, one letter from Carol's firm was enough. The attorney who handled my grandmother's estate had kept records. My mother had not covered her tracks as carefully as she believed. We recovered $31,200, the original amount plus partial interest. I didn't take her to court. I didn't need to. I donated the full $31,200 to the University of Tennessee's first-generation student scholarship fund, in Ruth Calloway's name. 6 weeks after the wedding, Cody called me. He'd found out about Lakeview, about all of it. He was quiet on the phone for a long time. Serena, I didn't know, he said. I know you didn't, I didn't know what she was doing. I know, Cody, we talked for 2 hours. The most honest conversation we'd ever had. He cried, I didn't, but I wanted to. We're still figuring out what our relationship looks like now. It's fragile. But it's real, which is more than it's ever been. My mother has not contacted me directly. Through Cody, I've heard she's telling people the Lakeview revelation was something I staged, something I planned. Maybe it was cruel to do it that way. At a wedding, I've thought about that. But here's what I know. I spent 23 years absorbing that woman's narrative about who I was. I tried to correct it quietly, through achievement and patience and hope. It didn't work. Sometimes the truth has to be loud. Today, Lakeview Property Group has 14 employees. We just signed a contract to manage a new mixed-use development in the nation's neighborhood. The biggest project we've ever taken on. I have a therapist named Dr. Yolanda James who once told me that grief for a living parent is the loneliest kind. She's right. I keep a photo of my grandmother Ruth on my desk. She had her hands folded in it, the way my father used to fold his. I visit her grave when I can. I bring yellow roses because she loved them. I did it, Grandma. I kept going. I'm not angry at my family. Anger is a weight, and I've been carrying other people's weight my whole life. I put it down. What I have instead is clarity. About who I am, what I built, what I deserve. About the kind of people I let into my life and the kind I keep at a careful, loving distance. Boundaries are not walls. They're not punishment. They're the honest acknowledgement that you matter enough to protect. If you're watching this from a family that made you feel like a footnote, hear me. You are the whole story. You always were. They just weren't reading carefully enough. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me your story, or just tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And remember this, you are not what they said you were, you never were, you are so much more. Until next time, this is Serena, and I'm finally free.